What happens when nobody wants to do the crappy jobs anymore? I hate work as much as you all do. But sometimes I wonder if everyone just stopped doing the crappy jobs. What would happen to our society? Lots of soul-crushing jobs are absolutely necessary for everything to function. Cleaning toilets, collecting garbage, line cooking, elder care, and even jobs that are just less desirable like bus driver, barber, retail worker or waiter. All of these need to exist. And lots of them need workers in very large quantities. But we've already seen that people just don't want to do these jobs anymore. Industries are missing workers left and right. Now you could say that of course nobody wants to do them. Not only is the activity in itself terrible, but the pay is abysmal as well. And while that is true, the reality is that a lot of these industries just don't bring in enough money to pay high wages. Should barbers, restaurants and retail stores increase their prices by 100 so that they can pay their staff better? Should cleaning personnel demand $500 to clean a single room? Where is this money supposed to come from when everyone is already poor as shit? I'm interested in what this sub thinks about this topic. I find it really easy to forget that our life only functions because countless people do the shitty jobs we don't want to do. So here's the thing, if capitalism worked the way you were always taught it did, the answer would be simple. Less people doing the work that is still necessary means their wages should go up. What actually happens is they bitch and moan and refuse to fill those roles until they find out the hard way why they were important. If we had universal basic income, I'd want to do a part-time crappy job like cleaning toilets. It's the pay that's the issue, not the work itself. Maintenance supervisor. About to leave and never work in the industry again. I'll never participate in evictions, rent increases, toxic practices, evil corporations, and evil landowners ever again. There are no good landowners because they are parasites. I wish I didn't sense such contempt for these normal jobs done by millions of normal people. The idea that driving kids to school every day as a bus driver is soul-crushing, or being a plumber or delivery driver. Nobody wants to do them. The activity itself is terrible. I just see out of touch hatred for these normal professions done by so many. To answer the question, if there was a demand for X job, the rates of compensation would increase until enough people wanted to fill the positions. Most of these jobs aren't soul-sucking at all when you have a living wage, safe working conditions, reasonable hours, and are treated with respect. So maybe it's time to start fighting for those for everyone. My dream is that patriotism comes to be couched in terms of public service, and that those shitty jobs come to be considered honorable to perform. Like joining the military. The jobs aren't inherently soul-crushing. The issue is more the abuse and overwork and underpay, which means stress everywhere else in life. Public works are important, and I hope that one day we as a culture value them far more than we do. I'm glad you were thinking about this, slightly smiling face. Well, in Iowa they're voting to roll back child labor laws, so poor kids will have to do them. Historically, all you need to do is look at any garbage strike. You will see what happens to society when normal people have had enough. I wonder if everyone just stopped doing the crappy jobs. What would happen to our society? They'd have to raise the pay until someone did them. Or we'll all die of cholera when the toilets stop working. It's a good question. There are no crappy jobs. Just crappy treatment of employees. It can be low pay, bad shifts, bad managers, toxic employees, etc. The term you are looking for is general strike. This is when people in all walks of society organize and say that unless things change, no more labor for the wealthy owners and bosses to profit from. I have noticed that corporations get tax breaks in the US if their workers are on some kind of welfare. I wonder if that translates to lower prices for consumers. 1. We bring in immigrants to do it. 2. The pay for those jobs goes up astronomically until people suddenly become willing to do it. Either 1 or 2. When everyone is already poor as shit. Here's the thing. A lot of people aren't poor as shit. The owning class has been keeping wages stagnant for decades. The money is there. It's wrapped up in billionaire accounts and stock buybacks. If they want these jobs done, they should pay higher wages for them. Prices don't have to go up by much. Companies just have to manage with lower C-suite pay and lower profits. I'll do basically any job if the money talks to me. None of us are better than any labor that needs to be done for our society to function. But if you want me to scrub toilets at a McDonald's, it better pay triple what my desk job with no customers is paying me. You eliminate chattel slavery and replace it with slavery as a service SaaS, pushing all the costs of maintaining slaves onto the slaves themselves, while simultaneously massively expanding your slave pool, flooding the market with people desperate enough to take whatever someone is willing to offer in order to drive down labor costs. You also convince them to breed as much as possible, placing obligations on them that will keep them compliant. Have you looked around the US? It's a masterclass in how to deal with exactly this. Next question. Nursing homes and elder care absolutely bring in enough money to pay high wages. I know firsthand. They just don't. And then upper management and especially executive employees make all of the money. It's an abusive system. Abusive to the patient. Abusive to the hourly worker. It's unethical, immoral, and ungodly. Soul-crushing jobs get filled because capitalism finds a way to hold starvation over people's heads. We people in South America go there to do your jobs. Even if it means risking our lives in the process, since the conditions we come from are worse than yours. Here we are forced to work 48 hours a week for a wage of $3,200 United States dollars a year. More than half of the population earns less than the min wage, while in the USA only outliers earn the min wage or less. Imagine. Suddenly, the price of everything costs x 7 times their actual cost. Welcome to being a South American. Probably. Immigration. We don't admit it out loud, but cheap underpaid labor is a big contributor to our constant growth. The jobs that can be automated will be automated. The others will see a rise in pay rates until people start doing those jobs again. You've accidentally discovered the argument for UBI in a highly developed economy. A lot of times the issue people have with these jobs isn't the job itself, but the low pay that comes from the economic necessity of keeping things like sit-down restaurants low in order to be economically viable. The issue isn't the tasks. The issue is the compensation. If we had free competitive markets, there would be an argument to be made that there was some sort of structural problem with those jobs. As it is, we have lots of oligopolies, monopsonies, and more rent-seeking behavior than we've had since the Middle Ages as a proportion of economic activity, distorting the heck out of any sort of price finding. I was a school bus driver and loved my job. It was basically 5 hours a day split into morning and afternoon. I was off when the schools were closed. I was paid to take my kids' class on their field trip. Had the summers off. Well, parents of young children will have a hard time because that'll mean no one is working in childcare anymore. In theory, wages go up. In practice, cost of living goes up until wage slavery forces the poor further into the gutter. What happens as wages go up or the C-suite can do it themselves? This ain't rocket surgery.